Hey, welcome into Press Box Live. I'm Stan the Fan Charles, and with me, as they always are on Mondays, are the old left-hander, Ross Grimsley. We call him the 0.2 percenter, and he is. I admire Ross. The more I look at pitching, the more I admire Ross Grimsley. And with us also is the managing editor of Press Box and PressBoxOnline.com. That's Luke Jackson. Guys, we're going to tackle what's gone on so far in the free agent pitching world and what's still out there because the pickings are getting a little bit slimmer. There's still tons of names out there, but are they names that you want? And are they names that the Orioles are going to be able to get? And we'll continue to scour that market. We'll also look at the relief pitching market, which is heating up for one pitcher that I really like, Robert Stevenson. But first, I got to tell you, we are brought to you by my friends at MJ Michaels and Heating and Air Conditioning. Go to their website, mjmichaels.com, for all the information on what they offer out there for you. And of course, Superbook Sports. That's right. The most trusted name in Vegas has arrived in Maryland, been here for about 4 or 5 months. And we're asking you at Pressbox, Glenn and I, you'll see that code number or name, Stan Charles 23. Glenn Clark 23 is also with us as well in this, as we try and influence some people that haven't signed up for a sports book yet or aren't thrilled with the one that they're on. Try Superbook Sports. They are the most trusted name out in Vegas, a long time in business out in Vegas. Now's the time with college basketball tipping off all over the place every night. Pro football is getting down to the nitty gritty, and college football, you got the bowl season heating up. Now's the time to get onto Superbook Sports. Use their promo code Stan Charles 23 or Glenn Clark 23 to score up to $250 with their first bet bonus. Win or lose, they will match your first bet up to $250 with promo code Stan Charles 23, all one word with no spaces. Again, visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, we'll also tell you midway through the show a little bit about the Costas Inn that I know you'll want to hear. But first, we go around the horn. And Luke, are you surprised at the rapidity with which the St. Louis Cardinals have sort of checked off checked off the boxes on their needs list?
No, because I think we all saw their rotation last year,
Yeah.
and we all heard from management after the trade deadline last year how aggressive they were going to be. And the Cardinals are one of those teams when they say they're going to do something, they tend to do it. And you look at what the Cardinals are hoping to do in the NL Central, I think that's a winnable division for them.
Yeah.
And the question's going to be whether they did enough to upgrade their rotation. They definitely added some innings. They certainly did that. Some veteran arms, but
So let's go over it.
Go ahead.
Today they signed Sonny Gray, 3 years, $75 million. I don't know if it has a fourth year option, Luke, or not. I haven't read that. But they also last week in rapid fire in the same day picked up Lance Lynn on a 1 year contract and Kyle Gibson on what is essentially a one plus a 1 year
Yeah.
option. So they picked up 3 starting pitchers, and just over the weekend, Ross Kenta Maeda signed with the Tigers for $12 million for 2 years. In other words, 12 a year, 24 million for
Right.
2 years. I think the Twins, and Luke, I'll ask your opinion and Ross on this. I think they were so comfortable with what he was making that a lot of times when you're only paying a guy 2.5 million and his contract ends, you don't see him as a $12 million guy. You see him, well, we should be able to get him for 7 or 6. I think they were very slow, especially knowing that they're going to lose Sonny Gray, which they did today, by not focusing laser quick on Maeda. Your thoughts, Ross?
If you want you want some of the top tier guys, you better go out and throw out your offers soon because they're going to go pretty quick. And it just took a couple guys to fall before they all start going pretty quick. And even some of your lower tier guys, Lance Lynn, Gibson, that's I mean the teams need something and they're going to go out and get them now. It's just a matter of time before these other top tier guys go. But the teams that need, Detroit's looking for pitching. They're looking for players. The Dodgers, they're going when that starts happening with them, they're going to jump on the boat and grab a bunch of guys. There's already talk. I mean, Hayward, outfielder.
But they finalized a 1-year deal with
Yeah.
him. But they appear to be in the market for the guy that I wanted for the Orioles, Robert Stevenson, a former #1 pick all the way back in 2011, I think it was.
Yeah.
And now he's 31 years old. And I'll tell you what, if the Dodgers decide they want him, he's liable to get $40 million as a relief pitcher.
Possibility. I mean, if you want some of these top guys, even your mid tier guys, you're going to have to pay a couple dollars, and if you want to if you want to be competitive with the other teams doing it. And I think some teams are going to do it and some are just going to go, no, we can't do it, we don't want to do it.
Right. Right. And to your point, Ross, it sure seems to me that the way the market is shaking out, Sonny Gray, I would think most would consider a #2 starter. He's going to get paid $25 million a year. And Kenta Maeda, I think most would consider a #4 starter. He's going to make $12 million a year.
Right.
And
he's 12. Yeah. He's a #4 with an upside to be as high as a low 2 if he's healthy.
Right.
I think they got a great bargain. So
yeah, the point was that yes, it's expensive out there, and if you want to play in this market, you got to be willing to pay.
Well, what is considered a bargain? Anymore. You don't really know. It's hard to say. Whatever you want to pay.
Maybe the Orioles will bring Jordan Lyles back now.
Oh gosh, yeah.
I'm sure he's available via trade, Stan. He's very available.
All kidding aside, Luke, I know you weren't a huge Kyle Gibson guy. You liked him, but you understand his limitations. Do you agree with me that by the time this all shakes out, the Orioles may well wish, you know what, we should have kept him around for 1 more year?
That's very possible. But just like I think the Orioles wanted to upgrade from Jordan Lyles a year ago, I think they would like to upgrade from Kyle Gibson this go around. And Gibson had a nice season. Especially in terms of the wins and losses, 15 game losses
and
that's nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah.
But throughout his career, he's had a thing where his peripherals are always better than his results, and he had an ERA close to 5, and he gave up a lot of hits, and I would suspect that will continue. But he strikes out a fair amount.
One thing he did do, pitcher like that in your rotation makes your bullpen a little bit better.
Right.
Because you're not having to go every single night in the 5th.
Right. And when he's bad, he still pitches into the 6th. Yeah. And there's a lot of value to that. And he's a guy who he's going to strike out a fair amount. He's not going to walk many, and he's going to keep the ball on the ground, which I'm sure that's what St. Louis loved about him. And so they went and struck. And so good for him and good for them because he's a Missouri guy. So I think he's going to be close to home.
The other good thing about him is the fact that he's good to be around the young players. And like you said, he gets to 6 innings. He's a guy that can pitch not with his best stuff and still get through. And that's something that young pitchers can see that's not a big thing anymore because they get in trouble, they're out.
Right. And to your point, everyone says that Kyle Gibson is an unbelievable dude and was unbelievable.
He's a great dude. Yeah.
And so that means
a lot. That really means a lot. And what he brings to the table for the other young pitchers, especially the Oriole you got a bunch of them. And but the thing, like you were saying, he gets to the 6th inning or farther. Sometimes he finds a way to do it without his best stuff, which a lot of guys have no clue how to pitch now without their best stuff because they never get the opportunity. So, I mean, what he brings to the table for a pitching staff, for a ball club is really important, and I don't think a lot of people see that.
Right. And the question now, Stan, is whether they can find somebody better.
Yeah, see, that's the point. There's no question they want somebody better than Kyle Gibson, but that's the floor. That would be the lowest I would want to have, is somebody like him as that third or fourth starter going into the season. We don't know what John Means is going to be like next year. We have no clue what he's going to be like. And while I like Dean Kramer a lot, and he's in Baltimore tonight, by the way, doing a banquet for the Israeli Defense Fund. He's making a little talk tonight and making an appearance at an event in Baltimore. But Dean Kramer, we can't say that he's a number one or a number two. I think with Bradish, I think he's a two with a chance to be a one. Right, Grayson is like a high two, like low two. I mean, in other words, he's not fully there yet. He's got a chance to be a number one, but we don't know what they're going to be like in 2024. And I don't know where the price point's going to be to get somebody better than Kyle Gibson. Whether it's going to be, whether that's realistic now. Luke, we're going through the names today. The two names that seem like the Orioles could be there, but I'll bet they're outpriced the Orioles already, or Michael Wacha and Seth Lugo.
Right. I would think that Michael Wacha is looking for probably about $18 million a year on a multi-year deal, I would think. So he is, the past 2 years, Michael Wacha has pitched like a number 3 starter. And the market for a number 3 starter is roughly, I would say, 16, 17, $18 million a year, which is exactly what Jameson Taillon signed for and what Taijuan Walker signed for last year. Now, whether those teams would do that again, probably not, but that's the market.
That is the market.
So if you want someone who's better than Kyle Gibson, that's what you're going to have to pay. And then, like we said before, Sonny Gray, number 2 starter, that's $25 million a year.
Now, Lugo walked away from the option that San Diego held. He signed a 2-year deal last year for $15 million, 7.5 a year. He outpitched that, and he had the right to exercise his option to return to free agency. I think he probably doubles that and adds a year. I think he's a $15 million pitcher now.
Right.
And the market may push him to 17 or 18.
Right. And there are two, I would say, true aces on the market, and that's Blake Snell and Yamamoto. And I would think that those guys would get close to $35 million a year.
Yeah.
I would think. And that's the market for an ace or more. So, and the Orioles obviously aren't going into that territory.
It was interesting to see, Ross, that the second that Gray signed, MLB trade rumors had up that the Atlanta Braves are talking to the White Sox about Dylan Cease, who could be better than any of the guys that signed so far. Did not have a great 2023. I think the Orioles have more ammo in their farm system than the Braves do. The difference is the Braves, when they calculate a trade, they say, we'll get Dylan Cease here and we'll sign him. The Orioles say, geez, we got to give up all this stuff and he's a free agent after next year. Is he really worth it? And they talk themselves kind of backwards out of acquiring somebody like that.
And that's going to be with just about anybody you trade for, especially if they got, I don't know, a lot of guys aren't going to be available if they got more than 1 year left, of team control. But yeah, I just don't. Do you think maybe the Orioles with Cole or Irwin and with Means, they might be banking on letting these guys, all the starters, start and make that bullpen as tough as they can make it, because they might be able to get be able to pay for some guys out of the bullpen and see what their starters can do. And then, because they're going to go, they're going to get some guys in the Rule 5. And more than likely, it's going to be 2 pitchers, that they're going to go for. But they're going to try to go get the best.
They're going to go the Dan Duquette route.
No, really, exactly. And that's, they've already kind of said that's what they're going to do. They want They want pitching, but they don't want the best, you know?
Well,
But if
there's
they,
nothing wrong with getting pitchers you identify with that outpitch what everybody else thinks of them. And
oh, yeah,
and Tampa is known for that. They made that trade this past season for Robert Stevenson, like in May, and he was arguably one of the best relief pitchers in all of baseball. His strikeout rate was right up there. I think strikeout combined with walks,
yeah.
his rate was higher than Bautista or any of the relief pitchers, Luke.
Yeah, and so what do you think Stevenson gets on the open market? You mentioned before that
I think the Dodgers made. I think the Dodgers have identified him, and like Ross is suggesting, they may, because they're so short on starters, they may be saying our best bet is to spend a ton of money on stocking the staff, sort of. And I think they might blow the competition away and give him 4 years and $40 million.
yeah, yeah, which is right in line
And
with
I can't blame the Orioles for not going into the 4 years, 40 million for
right, and the $10 million a year number is right what Reynaldo Lopez got from the
Yep.
Braves.
Yeah.
So and that's like if you want
And
a relief
Stevenson's a
pitcher,
much better pitcher than Ronaldo.
yeah, if you want a relief pitcher with upside who has had a track record of at least some success, you might get into that $10 million a year territory. So, and if the Orioles are going to go after any of these relievers that we've talked about, I know we've talked about Hector Neris a good bit. Yeah, that's going to be, I would think, at least $12-13 million a year, like a 2-year, $24 million deal at least for someone like Hector Neris. So, and that's a little pricey for a relief, but that's what it costs.
Yeah,
that's what it costs. So, at some point, got to push some chips in, right, Ross?
Think, but you know what they've done in the past. You know, it looks like they're going to wait till as long as they can and get the best of what's left. And
I do think that on the starting pitching front, it might be a little more likely for them to spring a trade, just because they do have a position.
So much they have so much ammunition to make a trade.
Right. And like some of these guys, like a Connor Norby, a Joey Ortiz, can you really send them back to Norfolk again? Like you could, but I don't know if that's the best use of that player. And at some point, you have to make decisions on these guys, and you want to keep everyone, but just the way baseball's set up, it's hard to do that. It's hard to hoard players, and it's not right to hoard players.
Yeah.
So, and if at some point, if a guy is major league ready, you need to give him an opportunity somewhere. And that's good business for your club as well, because you want to be on good terms with the agent, right? So, yeah, that's sort of what I think. That I think it might be more likely that they explore a starting pitching upgrade via trade and maybe attack the bullpen via free agency, which they tried to do last year. It didn't work out. Hopefully it works out better this year.
Yeah, I'm sure that the Atlanta Braves want Dylan Cease, but I think that the Orioles have enough to blow Atlanta out of the water in a trade, and they might circle back to Corbin Burns, who obviously will be available in Milwaukee.
So Cease has 2 years of club control remaining.
Oh, he does have 2 years.
He has 2 years. Yeah. And the Orioles did talk with Chicago about him ahead of the trade deadline.
Yeah.
And there were some rumors ahead of the deadline that they were actually close to a deal. I don't think they were ever really close to a deal.
What gets a deal done in your mind, Luke, for Dylan Cease?
Oh, I think you're going to have to give up one of your big prospects not named Jackson Holiday. So for me, that would be, if I were Chicago and I knew Jackson Holiday was
off. You want Hurstad or do you want Ortiz?
Well, I would ask for Ortiz as a secondary piece. Like as a
Cowser?
So I would give, if I were the Orioles, I would be fine with giving up Cowser as a main piece for Cease. If I were Chicago, I would ask for Kobe Mayo first. That's who I would really want. If I were the Orioles, I would want to keep him, but you got to give to get. And I think that's where the haggling for me would start. Who is that top piece? Is that top piece on the Colton Cowser level, or for me, a little bit above that is Kobe Mayo? Yeah. Is that where the negotiation starts? I don't know.
Did you see the rumor with the team deal?
No.
Well, it had. I think there was 4 teams. I know the Orioles, White Sox. I think the Yankees might have been in it, and they had Westberg going.
Sounds like a John Heyman special coming up.
I don't know where, but there was a lot of guys going, and the Orioles end up with the Chicago pitcher, and Westberg goes somewhere. I think the White Sox or something as the third baseman.
Right.
So yeah, it was. I didn't read a lot. I just happened to see it, and I'm going. I don't know if they would really do that, but the White Sox were going to get a lot of players out of this deal.
Yeah.
The Orioles were going to get Cease, and they were going to lose Westberg, and that was it. I'm going, well, yeah, if that happens, that would really be pretty good right there.
Right. And I guess the reason we're talking about Cease is that Chicago is obviously open for business, and we know that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
And so,
No question
and
about
like all these other guys that we've talked about, like a Mitch Keller, like does Pittsburgh really want to trade him? It certainly seems like Chicago would move Cease in the right trade, and it's just a matter of finding out what that trade is. So we'll see.
It'd be interesting. Mitch Keller would be interesting. His name is not bandied about much. I'll tell you one thing that's fascinating to me, though, and it's not surprising. When I watch Mike Elias, he doesn't say, and I don't mean this as an insult, he is smart, doesn't say anything.
nothing.
So, and I'll tell you what, he's also got Eve Rosenbaum, and Sig. They know not to say anything. The Orioles have the tightest lips in the shipping business.
Right.
They don't. There's no loose lips in the Oriole organization. We don't hear anything about them.
They know better to say anything.
Yeah,
A lot
they're
of
all
them.
afraid. They're all afraid of Mike.
They know they'll be looking for a job somewhere.
Yep.
Something slips out. So
Guys, the free agent market. We've talked about what's moved already. There are a couple decent names out there that we haven't touched on yet. Shane Bieber is out there, right, Luke?
On the trade market.
Oh, Bieber is a
So
trade.
I think he has 1 year.
He's
Club
got
control.
1 year of control.
He's been on the trade market for like 2 years, and frankly, I thought Cleveland should have dealt him like 2 years ago, and he's like kind of slipped ever since then. He's had some injuries, and he's
His
just not
velocity isn't what it
the
was.
velocity is not near what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, but he knows how to pitch. Somebody
Yeah,
will pick.
yeah.
Somebody will pick him up.
Yeah, but I've seen him too many times in the past couple of years where it's like the velocity's down, it's in the middle of the plate, and he just gets hit around. And it's not the same type of guy that we've come to enjoy watching pitch.
Yeah.
And now that guy still pops up every once in a while, but just not consistently.
Ross, there's a guy here. I'm going to give you a name. He's a Yankee free agent. They paid him at just the wrong time, which seems to be a habit of Brian Cashman.
Mm-hmm.
And in fairness to Brian, it's injuries. He paid Aaron Hicks a lot, and then Hicks's back went out, and they never got the value they wanted. But I'm talking about Luis Severino.
right.
Have you seen him at all this past year? Are you happy with where he is post Tommy John? His numbers are not attractive last year, but one number that still sticks out is that velocity is pretty good.
And that's one of the last things to come after these types of surgeries, And I tell a story about Joe Nathan. He had labrum surgery, and his whole goal was to get back to throwing 90 miles an hour, and he took a beating. I was the pitching coordinator with the Giants at the time, and he was in AAA, and
this is before they traded him. This is
Yes.
before he got established in the major.
Right. He got pounded, and his whole goal was just to get back, and it took him over a year to get back. And when he did, obviously his numbers were really, as a reliever, were outstanding. And Severino, seeing him and hearing about him, his velocity's back, and he might be something that could be of help.
And he could want the 1 year contract to have an attractive. So maybe a 12 or 13 1 year with a $2 million buyout, And
Yeah, I would think
and
that it would be something around there. Yeah,
yeah,
around there because he has had a lot of success in the past, just not for him bad timing
yeah.
to have this kind of year heading into free agency. But like you said, the velocity's still there. But when you watched him last year, it was a lot of fastballs in the middle of the plate, a lot of sliders in the
Yeah.
middle of the plate,
Well, I mean,
and he
he
just had
didn't have the command.
He
it,
didn't
it
have the command.
just didn't have the command. If you think that that his health is where it needs to be, that his stuff is where it needs to be, and it's just some simple fixes to get his command right, and then a change of scenery would help. And I'll say this also about Sevy. He handled that season as well as he could possibly handle it. He faced the music after every bad start, which is not, that's not easy to do in New York. And
Gosh, no.
and like especially the kind of starts that he was having, given the background he had as such an effective starter, I expect that he will get a nice pillow contract to try to bounce back. And I be shocked if it was the Orioles that did that? No. But I think that the
Because
Orioles are
his
probably looking
agent's going to say you need to go somewhere where they play good defense.
right,
They don't give away outs, and
right,
the Orioles are such a team.
and
But
not
I,
The other thing
well,
about the Orioles,
hold on 1 second, Ross.
yeah,
Let me get a word in about the Costas in,
sure.
and then I've got a question that's going to trump what you were saying for just a second. I want to talk when we get back about the wisdom of going into this sensitive time where you might be dealing with free agent pitchers and you don't even have a pitching coach,
Ooh,
if that's a factor.
all right.
All right.
That's
I
what
want to
I was
talk
going
about
to
that.
say. Yeah.
I want to talk about that when we get back. But first, let me tell you about the Costa Sin. There's no hard questions to ask about the Costa Sin because they do it right. They've been doing it right for a long, long time, over 52 years at 4100 North Point Boulevard. Take down the phone number because if you want steamed crabs, you have to have that phone number to call up, get the sizes, the cost, and availability. That's what you're dealing with crabs any time of year is cost, size, availability. It all comes as a package. 410-477-1975 is that phone number. They've got specials on the menu every weeknight, Monday through Friday. Fish, beef, chicken. They've got it all there for you at the Costas Inn. And again, if you're still not comfortable going out to restaurants and you want to bring it home, call the Costas Inn 410-477-1975, or better yet, go to costasinn.com, check out their website, order online, pay for it online. When you get there, you'll let them know you're there and they'll come out. Everything is packed immaculately. Grandma's soup isn't spilling on little Billy's chicken salad sandwich or something like that. Costas Inn, 4100 North Point Boulevard. Tell them the folks at Pressbox sent you. Ross, I know I interrupted you, but when at my age now, when I come up with a good question, I don't want to get off track.
Well, that's what
What
I was going to
about
say. That's what
what
I was going
about
to say.
what about this thing? It was fascinating to me. First of all, we don't have to beat a dead horse that Chris Holt isn't going to be the major league pitching coach, but that they haven't announced somebody already. If I'm Seth Lugo, don't I want to know who my pitching coach is?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, I
Do
think.
but you got the
Well,
dollar.
I mean, if you're a younger pitcher, maybe it's or you are familiar with the guy from being in another organization or whatever. Yes, it would be a big plus, but not knowing. And the thing with Holt, I think this thing was set up because the Oriole pitching throughout the minor league system is really outstanding. Whatever they seem to be doing right, and they've brought some pitchers in off the with their last couple of breaths and turned them into a little bit of effective, usable type guys. So I think this is going to work out good with Holt at the minor league level. Just worrying about the minor league pitchers and developing them instead of worrying about the whole system, big leagues.
But let me ask you a question. Chris Holt, like any coach, you got sort of a window of opportunity to make your dollars. He's giving up vesting in MLB pension, isn't he?
Probably so.
In other
Probably
words,
so.
he's not going to be an MLB coach, so he's not going to participate. In other words, that pension, after you've worked in the big leagues for 5 years, it vests. You
Yeah.
start to have a nice
No,
pension 10 years, 15, 20 years down the road.
it does stand, but you get the minor league pension too, obviously, which is not as good as the major league pension.
Right.
What this comes down to is you get a bunch of guys that care more about the coaching staff members that care more about the organization and more about either the players or the pitchers, whatever your forte is. You care more about those guys and the organization and winning. You get these guys, man, they're worth their weight in gold. And trying to get the end result is get to the World Series and win. That's the whole deal. And but you get guys that are more concerned about that than their own goals, whatever they may be. But obviously everybody wants to make money.
Yeah.
But when the organization wins, obviously you're in the big league level, you're going to make more. But everybody gets a piece of the action somehow or another. Maybe not as much as you'd like, but the whole thing is to have guys that care more about the players and the pitchers than you care about yourself, and that's, you got that going for you. You're going to have a top-notch organization. And that, I think the Orioles need, I think, to get a pitching coach and a bullpen guy as soon as possible. Just there might be that guy out there that will go, oh yeah, I know him. I was around him. I'm very comfortable with him. I know what he thinks. And, hey, then you get a guy that signs for you. That happens,
Yep.
But I think it's important, and probably they're just I don't know how the Oriole front office what they're working at, other than we're going to save some money, we're not going to spend a lot, we're going to get what we can, we're going to take the guys that we have and see what they can do. They're not going to win 100 games again next year. I would definitely don't think that's going to happen. Yeah. And they're going to see what they got with Means. They're going to see what they got with Cole Irwin and see what these guys can do. Because I really think Irwin could be a guy that can help. I really think he can.
He could be the Ross Grimsley of this staff.
Well, I mean, he can flip them up there with, he did it in Oakland. John Means is another guy that can come along, and with that changeup is devastating. I think they're gonna see what these guys can do and then go ahead. But as far as getting a top-notch starter, that's not going to happen. That just isn't going to happen.
Luke, quick question for you: who's going to end up signing Yamamoto?
Ooh. Good question.
Is it the Dodgers?
Well, I would think it's
the Dodgers or Yankees.
Ooh, that Dodgers Yankees battle for Yamamoto would be very interesting, because those are two teams that are used to landing the guys who they target.
Yeah. I think the Dodgers are going to make a trade with Tampa for Tyler Glasnow, and I think they're going to give up a good bit of prospect, in return. Maybe Gavin Lux goes there.
One idea that just came into my head: do you think it's possible for Philly to move some salary in Castellanos and or Walker, and get Yamamoto?
I don't think they're going to view that as the need. To me, what Philly needs, if there's one pitcher out there that Philly needs, it's Josh Hader.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, I think Texas and the Phillies will vie for him. I think the Giants are going to try and blow Bellinger out of the water, and I think they're going to be in the Yamamoto hunt with the Dodgers.
I was also thinking about the Giants for Yamamoto, but yeah, I think
he wants to go somewhere where there's another Japanese player.
Yeah,
he don't want. And that's, I mean, you got to scratch your head now. Who's got another Japanese player or two?
San Diego.
They're not going to see what Ohtani does.
San Diego is not going to be bidding for him. Trust me. They're going to be out of. They will not do anything big picture this year. The days of
think-
the days of AJ Preller striking these big deals are done.
Yeah.
His benefactor Peter Seiler passed away 2 weeks ago. You know that Padres had to borrow, was it $50 million?
50.
$50 million to pay the end of year payroll. The next guy that's the head of the team is not going for that. So
Do you think that AJ is going to be forced to trade Soto?
yeah, I think Soto goes.
I think so too.
I think Soto goes to the Yankees.
They can say whatever they want. I think Soto is going to be dealt before opening day.
I think
I
Soto goes to the Cubs or the Yankees. Yeah. All right, guys, it's just starting. The baseball winter meetings are what, about 6 days away, 8
Yeah.
days away?
Yeah, I think they start on Sunday night.
So, this coming Sunday night, right?
Yeah.
All right. We'll regather next Monday, and I'm sure we'll have a lot more to chew on. All right. We thank our sponsors tonight, AJ Michaels Heating and Air Conditioning, with locations in Baltimore and Annapolis. We thank Superbook Sports. Take advantage of their $250 first bet bonus if you use the promo code StanCharles23 or Glenn Clark 23 and sign up as a customer at Superbook Sports. And of course, thank our friends Costas Inn. Always thank Ross Grimsley and Luke Jackson. We'll talk soon, guys. Off.